So in this video, we're going to talk about how there's undeniable proof that there's two-tier policing in the UK. But since the topic is really incendiary right now and very delicate, I have to say that I'm just going to show you some clips from the internet, and then you're going to arrive at a conclusion, because there's something that has to be said. We're going to focus on this video of Superintendent Emlyn Richards from the West Midlands Police. But first, I needed to make a very important disclaimer regarding what is the UK's current approach to people who are pointing out what is going on with the riots and the civil unrest in the UK. And it has to do with the fact that everyone who is even retweeting or reposting or sharing or in some way distributing information about this is like some kind of target for the authorities to apprehend. So even deportation, threatening with deportation in some cases. I wish I was making this up. So we're going to watch one first clip so you understand the magnitude of what's going on. And I want to make this disclaimer before we talk about the actual two-tier policing.
The offence of incitement to racial hatred involves publishing or distributing material which is insulting or abusive, which is intended to or likely to start racial hatred.
Okay, so that's the very loose definition of it, and that is usually what they do. They have this blanket statement or this very wide definition of what are you trying to enforce, and that's where the problems begin.
So if you retweet that, then you're republishing that, and then potentially you're committing that offence. And we do have dedicated police officers who are scouring social media. Their job is to look for this material and then follow up with identification arrests and so forth.
I mean, I cannot, I don't know what to say about the fact that they are dedicated police officers watching Twitter or X or Facebook or whatever, trying to find these posts of people who are steering the... I can understand that in some ways this has been happening all the time because, well, you know that, how to put this, dangerous things can be prevented if you can spot the things, but it's not usually your grandmother who is resharing or retweeting something on Twitter. That's not the idea behind that, because I know that there's not a First Amendment to protect free speech in the UK, but that is something that is common sense. But let's see the rest of this.
So it's a really, really serious. People might think they're not doing anything harmful. They are, and the consequences will be visited upon them.
So this is my concern. That's why I wanted to show you first this, because it's really dystopian, and gonna bring you another clip that will be important to understand this. Again, I'm talking about these topics, the UK, the riots, the reasons behind those riots, which is a topic that you know that even many politicians in the UK are not willing to talk about. And the way to prove that many politicians don't want to talk about this, I'm going to play this clip. Again, this video is about two-tier policing, but I'm going to play this clip from Keir Starmer, and he's going to be asked a question about mass immigration. The question has the words mass immigration. We could say that it's direct about mass immigration, and this was his answer. Try to notice in his answer if he is actually answering it.
If we have indeed turned a corner and seen an end to the violence, is now the time to engage with the underlying tensions that are in communities over the issue of immigration?
The first priority is safety and security of our communities. And yes, last night was much better than was expected, but we are not going to give up on our efforts here. That's why it's very important that I continue my discussions, coordinating with law enforcement, with police leaders, to make sure we've got the right officers in the right place, to keep pushing on the criminal justice response. I was very keen that we're able to demonstrate that if you're involved in disorder, within days you'll be in the criminal justice system, and some people starting long terms of imprisonment. That needs to continue, and so that is my sole focus.
That is my sole focus. No answer about mass immigration. No address of the underlying matter that, well, I already explained this in other videos, but just to make it, drive the point home at what are we, like content creators, getting ourselves into is
Some people might be sharing simply to warn their friends, but it could be considered an offence because they're amplifying this.
Absolutely, and that's the key message, is that however you think you're acting innocently on social media, whatever platform it is, you're just sharing something for whatever reason, that could potentially be a criminal offence. And look, it's not an idle threat either, because the Crown Prosecution Service were keen to point out that they've made a number of charges in relation to stirring up of racial hatred online, one of which this morning was for distributing a recording that could, intending to stir up racial hatred. And so
I'm going to just leave it at that. So, again, these are very broad and open statements in which the definition is clearly stated by the authority who wants to, or it's intending to apply that full law upon the people who share, only reshare content, even retweeting or reposting. So, when we talk about the actual two-tier policing, that's when we need to go to this clip. This is something. We're going to analyze this in two parts, maybe just one. Let me just watch the first part, and then we're gonna watch other video that really shows you how messed up is this. So let's watch this first part.
Why was there such a low-key, should we say, police presence? Because, I mean, clearly your officers were there, but they were not visible, and yet there were an awful lot of people out and an awful lot of people who were armed with various weapons.
So we have really strong business and community relations, and because we were aware through intelligence that there was a potential protest through that misinformation yesterday, we had the opportunity to meet with community leaders, with business leaders, prior to that event, to kind of understand the style of policing that we needed to deliver during the course of that operation. So we knew that there was going to be a large amount of people out on that counter-protest.
Sorry, I have to point out that he said counter-protest. That is going to be very important in just a minute.
We knew who the vast majority of those people were. We'd had conversations in terms of what that was likely to look like, and so our policing response was commensurate to that intelligence and the information that we'd held with our partners and communities prior to that event taking place.
So that is the first part. You already have the idea. There was going to be this protest, this far-right protest, which was fake in the end, was misinformation. He used the word misinformation. The protest had not been taking place. But before they found out that it was misinformation, they had already talked to the communities that were going to do this counter-protest. You know what kind of communities, which is the community that we're talking about. If it's not far right, it's the opposite. And the leaders of these communities absolutely assured the police that there was not going to be any trouble. There was going to be this, he said that, this large amount of people on a counter-protest, but the community and business leaders said that it's going to be okay. Don't fret about it. It's not going to be any big deal. Now, I don't know if he thinks this officer looks like a good person. Maybe he's just taking the fall for that, but it's sad, really. But it's like, I don't know how you think humans work. It's like the community leaders that he mentioned had this remote control, and they control everyone in their community the same way. Like if you have a large amount of people, regardless if they are far right or far left, and it's going to be a counter protest against people, another large amount of group of people who oppose your views, there really could be trouble. So he just taking the community leaders' words at face value that there's not gonna be anything is gonna happen. It's a bit dangerous. And the most ironic thing, and I don't know how to present this. This is really ironic what you're about to see. You're gonna see the next clip, and you're not gonna believe this.
There were speculation that there was a planned far-right protest through that area this evening. It turned out to be false information, but nonetheless hundreds of people turned up, many of them wearing masks, some of them carrying weapons, as you saw. It was a largely peaceful demonstration. I was there for several hours, but then a group of masked youths began behaving in sort of low-level criminal behaviour, reckless driving, antisocial behaviour. What's happened in the past hour or so is that they've broken off, and a group of them have attacked cars and a pub elsewhere in the city. I've just come off the phone to the police. They said they're investigating several cases of criminal damage.
Okay, just to set the record straight. There was no far-right faction or group of people there. And still, there was no conflict. Maybe, well, you can see the images. I'm showing you, I'm being fair. The images that we have been seeing here, they are quite, they look peaceful. They are not doing anything. Most of them don't have masks. We can say that, well, you can see that most of them don't have masks. They are not doing anything out of the ordinary, all right? But without the far-right thoughts being there, even in that situation, without having an opponent, then these things, low-key criminal offenses began to happen. I cannot imagine what would have happened if the concentration, if there had been the two factions at the same time in the same place. Not being, just one of them. And even the BBC is recognizing, acknowledging in the very low-key way that there was violence and crime. So you tell me, how can you expect to just take this community leaders' word at face value that there's not going to happen if this group of people, okay, again, I am not defending any actions from the other group. I'm just stating that this is how large groups of people who are going to oppose another large group of people work in real life. So you cannot expect, and I'm sorry to just point out this gentleman again, you cannot expect that something is not going to go really wrong in many ways. And effectively, that is like talking to the heads of one of the sides and pretending that the heads, or community leaders in his words, are just going to take care of everything. No, because there are always sociopaths, even in the most peaceful of protests, from any faction, from any group of people. You will have sociopaths that want these cheap thrills of causing damage and stuff. That is something I would not say normal, but statistically it's almost the law. So you not having police presence, and they are trying to sugarcoat it. Oh yeah, there was this, you remember the first words, why was there such a low-key, shall we say, police presence? It was so low-key. It was so low-key that no, I don't see any police right here. Maybe they are using some kind of invisibility cloak or something. But yes, I'm trying to add some levity to this. But it is concerning. It is concerning the way they are treating this, and it's concerning the way politicians are avoiding to talk about this topic. This is urgent, and I will keep making videos about this, because this needs to be talked about. It's not only the UK, it's happening in France, in Germany, in Sweden, and it's gonna keep happening unless someone makes some kind of stand, and that stand starts by our politicians talking about the uncomfortable topics. My body language buddies, my name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy. I would love to know what you think about this in the comments. Much love and bliss.